Well, as we take a look now at the Carolina Crusher, there he is, Gary Porter. And Gary Porter, the second fastest qualifier here this afternoon, right behind Bigfoot. And in round one, he goes up against Micro Machine, John Bream.
John Bream out of Jeff City, Missouri. He and his brother Bobby been around the sport for many years. As a matter of fact, they actually run 3 trucks in the Monster Truck Series. They brought the Micro Machine over to them to go head-to-head. The old Carolina Crusher.
Gary Porter in that big Chevrolet, side by side to the second ramp, and who's going to win it? Gary Porter by about a half length. He won that in the second half of that run.
Yeah, he pulled it out on the top end of the track. Well, one of the things I was watching, I hope this camera angle shows us, John Bream had his hands full in that last 100 feet, the shutdown area. Watch Bream from here on. Reporter settle down. Look at Bream. He is still bouncing. There's a dip in that left lane. The drivers are getting spooked about it, Gary.
And now here is Bigfoot, Andy Brass, Bigfoot 8 out of St. Louis, Missouri. He is the fastest qualifier. He goes up against John Moore in no problem. A pair of Fords, a pickup, and a Bronco.
Both of them running 460 cubic inch supercharged engine. The Bigfoot team relies on the blower drive service out of California to help make their horsepower.
This will be a big challenge for John Moore, but he's going to run him tough. A lot of smoke from that short wheelbase Bronco. Andy Brass takes the victory. It was a good ride, though, for John Moore. And there is Bob Chandler, the man behind the Bigfoot stable. We look once again, and the Army will have you walk over and see if you can't corral John Moore after we take a look at the replay. And there is the margin of victory for Andy Brass in Bigfoot.
Florida Bigfoot boys knew you're going to run them tough. That's exactly what you did.
Yeah, I had to give them everything I had. I had to try and get them on the light first. And then I knew I was going to be down on motor a little bit, but they had to run it for all it was worth, and I sure tried that.
Well, we have some bad news for all the Taurus fans. That is a brand new truck, had an easy first-round victory over Above and Beyond, but there is something amiss in the drive shaft, and Taurus is out of competition. Bigfoot a winner, as was Nightlife in round one competition, also winning Barefoot and King Crunch. So now we're set for round two competition as we take a look at the other winners. Snakebite and the Carolina Crusher will advance. And here is a look at Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch, and he goes up against Fred Schaefer and Barefoot.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Schaefer comes in here. The scenario is almost like a gunfighter. You know, he's not supposed to be here. I don't think these guys want him here. Scott Stevens knows he is going to have the race of his life on his hand right now to get past that Barefoot truck. These guys don't compete against each other that often. Stevens jumped him on the light, Gary.
Oh, he got a good cut, but look at the air. Fred Schaefer way up in the air. Oh, problem for Scott Stevens. He is upside down. That truck looks like it's really been hurt. We'll watch to see for Scott if Scott can climb out as the crew runs over there, the safety crew, his crew. They look in the cage. Look at the destruction to that Chevrolet. They're peeling the fiberglass away now. We can only wait. Well, Scott is out of the truck.
Gary, his crew chief, Tracy Smart, is an EMT. He's with him right now. Larry Hoffman, blower drive service. The right people are there, but meanwhile, Barefoot's trying to work his way back. The race for the next round gets ready, but the question at hand, how bad does Scott Stevens get hurt on this?
And how bad does Scott tear up the truck? Obviously, the truck is not our concern when a driver may be injured, but it looks like he hit that rough spot over there in that left lane. That turned him sideways.
It's like hooking a rut in a sprint car. You've used that before. It's exactly what happened. This camera angle should show you real good. Look at the air, the hang time Schaefer had on the left of your screen. Now he pulls back on Stevens. Stevens, bad
right there. Yeah, he catches that rut and rolls him on over. A lot of damage.
Well, Gary, that run tore up two good monster trucks. Scott Stevens seems to be the worst for wear. Schaefer's going to be back in the next round. They right the Stevens truck. The crew chief's looking at it. I wonder what's going through his mind right now, Gary Lee. Check it out. Still taking care of the sponsor.
We'll check on Scott as we return to Bloomsburg. And there is the damage to the Creative fiberglass body on King Crunch. The driver is okay. He is with Army Armstrong.
Scott, first of all, you okay?
Yeah, you know, it's pretty hard tumble. You know, done it before, but boy, you never get used to them. And that one, it just lasted so long. And you know, it's pretty good hurt.
Do you have any idea what caused the flip? Everybody's, you know, I'm not going to put any thoughts in your mind. What do you think caused it?
I have no idea. I thought it was a really good run. The truck got a little crooked, but no more crooked than it's probably done 100 times before. It just, when it landed, you know, I thought it was a pretty decent race. You know, I thought Fred had a little lead on me, but, you know, I didn't. And then all of a sudden it was Katie bar the door. Everything from, all I could see was dirt, and I couldn't tell from one end to the other, and all I was reaching was for kill switches.
Well, I tell you did a real good job. Your crew's over here waiting. They're anxious to get back to you. Thanks for stopping by and telling us you're okay. Sorry about the bad luck.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Army.
So the crew will get together and assess the damage on the King Crunch Chevrolet as our competition continues here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. We take a look at Snakebite Cobra Creek, Colorado, the hometown. And there is Gary Porter out of North Carolina in the Carolina Crusher.
Gary, one of the things we're going to see the rest of the afternoon, everybody's got a lane choice. I guarantee you, going to stay away from the left lane. The lane the snake's in should be the bad lane if the drivers are right.
And Gary Porter by a fender. Well, maybe a truck length as he pulled it out in the final 100 feet. And that's the uniqueness of this racetrack, Army, the additional 100 feet past the last set of cars.
Normally,
right there's where he wins it.
Right. Normally, the last car in the second jump is the finish line. That extra 100 feet, boy, you got to throttle up in a hurry. And, you know, I've asked the drivers, they said subconsciously they're ready to be stopping at that time. They do not want to go that other 100 feet.
Well, here's a truck that looks like the remnants from a demolition derby, and this is why it looks that way. This was in qualifying earlier. Look at this. Upside down, the cage actually collapses, and we're concerned with that arm flailing about on the left side. But here he is in round two, Wayne against Andy.
Brass runs hard right lane. Wayne using his head, Gary.
Well, you heard him say earlier he was concerned about running that truck hard, perhaps getting upside down again with that weakened cage. So Andy Brass will advance in Bigfoot 8.
You got to remember, we just talked a moment ago about lane choice. Lane choice is determined by the quick ET. So Andy Brass still had to run hard in order to try to protect that lane for the next round.